From the outside, the story looks simple. A tall, gifted athlete rises to the highest level of professional basketball, earns fame, wealth, and global recognition. But when you slow the story down and examine each chapter carefully, the journey of Paul George becomes far more complex, shaped by discipline, setbacks, reinvention, and constant public scrutiny. This documentary explores how Paul George was built, how the career unfolded, why the name is trending again right now, and what this moment means in the larger arc of a long and closely watched professional life. This film will trace the full path of Paul George, starting from early life and background, moving through education and formative years, following the beginning of a professional career, and analyzing the rise to recognition on the biggest stages. It will also examine the struggles and criticisms that shaped public perception before focusing deeply on the current trend surrounding Paul George, explaining exactly why attention has returned so strongly at this point in time. Finally, it will assess public reaction, future possibilities, and long-term legacy. Paul George was born into an environment where sports were present but not guaranteed pathways to success. The early years were shaped by family influence, local competition, and exposure to basketball as both recreation and discipline. Unlike athletes who are immediately labeled as future stars at a young age, Paul George developed gradually. Physical growth, skill refinement, and confidence came in stages rather than all at once. This slower development would later become a defining theme of the career. During childhood and adolescence, Paul George showed interest in multiple sports, but basketball gradually became the central focus. Time spent practicing fundamentals, studying older players, and competing against peers helped build a balanced skill set. There was no single viral moment or early national spotlight that launched the name into public consciousness. Instead, recognition came through consistency and improvement over time. Education played a significant role in shaping both discipline and opportunity. At the school level, Paul George competed against stronger, more experienced opponents, often needing to adapt quickly. These years were not defined by dominance, but by learning how to contribute in different roles. Coaches recognized versatility rather than raw stardom, and this versatility would later become one of the most discussed aspects of the professional identity. The transition from school-level basketball into higher competition marked a critical turning point. Increased physical demands, faster pace, and heightened expectations forced Paul George to evolve. Skills that were once sufficient now needed refinement. Defense, decision-making, and off-ball movement became just as important as scoring. This period shaped a player known not for a single specialty, but for adaptability. The professional career began without immediate superstardom. Entry into the league placed Paul George among elite athletes with years of experience and established reputations. Early seasons were defined by adjustment. Minutes fluctuated, responsibilities changed, and expectations remained measured. Rather than dominating headlines, Paul George built credibility quietly through steady performance, defensive commitment, and gradual offensive expansion. As seasons progressed, recognition followed. Improved efficiency, stronger defensive presence, and leadership growth elevated Paul George into higher conversations within the sport. Media coverage increased, not because of controversy, but because of reliability. Coaches trusted Paul George in critical moments, and teammates leaned on that stability. This phase marked the true rise to visibility. Major achievements accumulated over time: selection to elite groups, deep playoff runs, and standout performances against top competition solidified the reputation of Paul George as a complete player. Rather than being labeled purely as a scorer or defender, the narrative centered on balance. This versatility made Paul George valuable in multiple systems and roles, but it also complicated public perception. Fans often debate players who fit neatly into categories more easily than those who adapt constantly. No long career at the highest level is free from adversity. Injuries, roster changes, and shifting team strategies introduced uncertainty. At various points, Paul George faced long recovery periods, interrupted momentum, and questions about durability. These moments tested not only physical resilience, but public trust. Each return was closely analyzed, with performances measured against expectations that were often unrealistic. Criticism followed as visibility increased. Some observers questioned consistency in high-pressure moments. Others compared Paul George to peers with different play styles or championship outcomes. Social media amplified every strong performance and every weak one. The narrative around Paul George became layered, mixing respect for talent with debate about legacy and impact. Despite this, the career continued to evolve. Adjustments in role, shot selection, and leadership responsibilities reflected maturity. Paul George increasingly operated within complex team structures, balancing individual contribution with system demands. This adaptability extended the career and kept the name relevant even as the league changed around it. The reason Paul George is trending right now is not random, and it did not appear overnight. The current surge in attention is the result of a convergence of recent performance, public discussion, and broader league context. It began with a sequence of high-visibility games in which Paul George delivered efficient, controlled performances at moments when expectations were uncertain. These performances did not rely on spectacle, but on precision, decision-making, and leadership under pressure. As these games circulated through highlights, analysts began revisiting older narratives. Discussions emerged questioning whether previous criticism had overlooked long-term consistency. Media segments focused on advanced metrics, matchup impact, and situational effectiveness. This analytical shift played a major role in changing the tone of coverage. At the same time, interviews and public appearances contributed to the trend. Comments made by Paul George reflected self-awareness about past struggles and clarity about current priorities. These statements resonated because they contrasted with earlier portrayals that framed confidence as arrogance or inconsistency as unreliability. Instead, the narrative shifted toward experience and perspective. Social media amplified these changes rapidly. Clips were shared comparing past seasons to current form, highlighting improvements in shot selection, defensive positioning, and off-ball contribution. Fans who had once been divided began debating the reassessment of Paul George within the league hierarchy. Importantly, this discussion did not focus on potential alone, but on sustained output over time. Another factor driving the trend is timing. The league is currently in a phase where veteran adaptability is highly valued. As younger players enter with athleticism and speed, veteran players who can adjust roles gain renewed relevance. Paul George fits this moment precisely, and public conversation reflects that alignment. This trend matters because it reframes the career narrative. Instead of viewing Paul George through isolated playoff moments or injury timelines, the discussion now emphasizes longevity, versatility, and contextual impact. It challenges earlier assumptions and invites a broader evaluation of what success looks like at the professional level. Media reaction has been mixed, but increasingly analytical. Traditional outlets highlight efficiency and leadership, while digital platforms debate ranking and legacy. The tone is less emotional than in previous cycles, suggesting a maturing conversation around performance evaluation. Currently, Paul George remains an active and influential figure within the league. The future possibilities include continued adaptation, mentorship roles, and sustained contribution at a high level. Rather than focusing solely on peak years, the outlook now considers how experience can shape winning environments. In the long term, the legacy of Paul George is likely to be defined by balance rather than extremes, not a singular icon built on one moment, but a career constructed through adjustment, resilience, and relevance across eras. The impact extends beyond statistics, influencing how versatility and longevity are valued in modern basketball. As this chapter continues to unfold, the story of Paul George reminds us that careers are not fixed narratives. They evolve with time, context, and perspective. If you want more deep cinematic documentaries that break down careers beyond headlines, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay with us for the next story.